Johannesburg, South Africa, a city of contrasts, where hope and despair often collide. This is the story of Thabo Bester, a name that would become synonymous with deceit, manipulation, and audacious crime. Bester, a convicted rapist and murderer, earned notoriety for his cunning ability to charm and disarm his victims, often using social media as his weapon of choice. On May 3, 2022, a fire erupted in Bester's cell at the Mangaung Correctional Center. The charred remains of a body were found inside, burned beyond recognition. Investigative journalist Marisia Damons, working with the news publication Ground Up, received a tip, a tantalizing clue that suggested Bester may have orchestrated his own death. The autopsy report revealed a shocking truth. The body in Bester's cell was not him. He had escaped. The story of Thabo Bester is more than just a tale of a daring escape. It's a story that gripped a nation and forced it to confront uncomfortable truths about itself. Bester, the Facebook rapist, understood the seductive power of online platforms. He used them to create false identities, lure his victims, and ultimately to craft his own narrative. This is a story about the search for justice, the fight for accountability, and the enduring power of truth to prevail. Thabo Bester's story begins in the heart of Soweto, Johannesburg. Born on June 13, 1986, his entry into the world was marked by a bureaucratic oversight. His mother, unable to register her own birth due to apartheid-era South Africa, found herself unable to officially register her son.
Soweto in the 1980s was a pressure cooker of social and economic challenges. For a young boy like Thabo, growing up without proper documentation would have amplified the feeling of being invisible.
The details of Bester's early childhood remain shrouded in mystery. What little we do know paints a picture of a childhood marked by instability and hardship. Some have speculated that these early experiences, the lack of a stable home environment and the constant struggle against poverty, may have contributed to Bester's descent into a life of crime.
It's undeniable that factors like poverty exposure to violence and a lack of positive role models can create a breeding ground for criminal behavior.
As Bester entered his teenage years, his knack for deception and his willingness to bend the rules became increasingly apparent. At the age of 17, Bester's life took a decisive turn. His petty crimes escalated, leading to his first serious brush with the law. For most teenagers, this would have been a wake-up call, but for Thabo Bester, prison served as a different kind of education. At 17, most teenagers are grappling with homework and first love. Thabo Bester, however, was grappling with the harsh realities of prison life. The details of his time behind bars remain murky, but one can only imagine the impact those formative years spent amidst hardened criminals had on the young Bester.
Prison doesn't reform you, it just teaches you new ways to survive. Some come out broken, others come out sharper, ready to carve their own path.
Upon his release, Bester tasted freedom, but the lessons of prison had taken root. He quickly violated the terms of his parole, drawn back into the world of crime. Fraud became his weapon of choice. He moved through the shadows, creating new identities, always seeking the quickest score.
Con artists like Bester are often charismatic individuals skilled at reading people, identifying their vulnerabilities. They prey on our inherent desire to trust.
Bester's crimes escalated in both audacity and depravity. He graduated from petty fraud to more elaborate schemes. The once petty thief was morphing into something more sinister, a predator hiding in plain sight. It was during this period that Bester began to use social media as a hunting ground, identifying and manipulating his victims on a grander scale. By 2011, Thabo Bester had honed his skills as a con artist. He recognized the power of social media, particularly Facebook, as a tool for predation. Posing as a model scout or casting agent, Bester created fake profiles, often using stolen photos to project an image of success and legitimacy.
He contacted me through Facebook, said he was a scout for a big agency. I was young, naive, excited about the possibilities. I never suspected.
Bester's crimes escalated in brutality. In 2012, his reign of terror reached a horrifying climax with the murder of his then-girlfriend, Nomfundo Tihulu. The murder of Nomfundo Tihulu sent shockwaves through South Africa. This was no longer just a case of online deception, it was a cold-blooded murder.
Nomfundo's murder was a turning point. It brought the full horror of Bester's crimes into sharp focus.
The law finally caught up with Thabo Bester in 2012. He was arrested, charged with 2 counts of rape and the murder of Nomfundo Tihulu. In a move that surprised many, Bester pleaded guilty to all charges. The judge called Bester a danger to society, a man who preyed on the innocent. Thabo Bester, the Facebook rapist, had been stopped, or so it seemed. Sentenced to life imprisonment, Thabo Bester found himself confined within the walls of Mangaung Correctional Center, a maximum security prison. But for a master manipulator like Bester, prison walls seemed less like a barrier and more like a challenge. Bester's criminal mind wasn't content with merely manipulating his immediate surroundings. He craved more. From within his cell, he orchestrated a scam so audacious, so brazen, that it would once again capture the attention of the nation.
People were falling for it. They saw the name, the logo, the photos of Hollywood stars, and they bought it hook, line, and sinker.
The 21st century media scam wasn't just about money, it was about power. Bester proved he could control the narrative and profit from behind bars. Public outrage erupted when the scam was exposed. The scandal highlighted corruption in South Africa's correctional system.
It was an open secret among some staff. Everyone knew Bester was up to something, but money talks.
Despite exposure and tighter security, Bester remained undeterred. He craved more freedom born of manipulation and deceit. May 3, 2022. The pre-dawn hours hung heavy with a silence broken only by the distant hum of prison generators. At precisely 3 a.m., a fire alarm shattered the stillness of Mangaung Correctional Center. Cell Block 3, usually a cacophony of snores and whispered conversations, became a scene of chaos and confusion as guards rushed towards a plume of thick black smoke emanating from Cell 35. Thabo Bester's cell. Through the inferno, firefighters battled their way to the source, their torches cutting through the smoke-filled cell to reveal a gruesome sight. On the charred mattress lay a body, burned beyond recognition. The official report was swift and decisive. Thabo Bester, the infamous Facebook rapist, had perished in a fire, presumably a suicide. The news spread like wildfire, a sense of grim satisfaction washing over a nation still grappling with the horrors of his crimes. Justice, it seemed, had been served, albeit in a brutal and unexpected manner. Yet, even as the ashes settled, whispers of doubt began to swirl. Investigative journalist Maricia Damons received an anonymous tip, a single tantalizing clue. The source alleged that the body found in Bester's cell was not him at all. Armed with this doubt, Damons embarked on a quest for answers. Each revelation exposed a web of lies. Thabo Bester hadn't died in the fire, he had escaped. The news of Bester's escape sent shockwaves through South Africa, igniting outrage and disbelief. What was initially deemed a suicide morphed into a national scandal. How could a convicted murderer simply vanish from a maximum security prison? The public demanded answers and accountability. The Department of Correctional Services scrambled to contain the fallout. A full-scale investigation was launched, but the damage was done. The public's trust in the system had been shattered. While South Africa grappled with the shocking revelation of his escape, Thabo Bester was busy crafting a new life for himself, one far removed from the confines of prison walls. He resurfaced in the lap of luxury, residing in a rented mansion in the upscale Johannesburg suburb of Hyde Park. Gone was the orange jumpsuit, replaced by designer clothes and an air of affluence. He assumed the alias TK Nkwana, presenting himself as a wealthy businessman with international connections. The charmer, the manipulator, had returned, donning a new mask to deceive and exploit. Bester's life in Hyde Park was a grotesque parody of success built on a foundation of lies, deceit, and stolen wealth. He hosted lavish parties, drove luxury cars, and surrounded himself with people eager to bask in the glow of his fabricated wealth.
He was always flashing cash, talking about his big deals, his connections. People were drawn to him, blinded by the illusion of wealth and success. Looking back, it's sickening to think how easily he fooled everyone.
Central to Bester's life on the run was Dr. Nandifa Magudumana. A well-respected aesthetics doctor, Magudumana's involvement with a convicted murderer shocked South Africa. The answer lies in manipulation, control, and perhaps a shared taste for danger. Their relationship, shrouded in secrecy, became a source of endless speculation. Was Magudumana a willing participant or a victim of his manipulation? Bester's life in hiding wasn't just about romance and luxury. His criminal instincts resurfaced with a new scam, Aram Properties. Posing as a property developer, he lured investors with promises of high returns. But Bester's world was about to crumble. His past was closing in. Their reckless moves drew more scrutiny. The clock was ticking for Thabo Bester and Nandifa Magudumana. On April 8, 2023, just over a year after his audacious escape, Thabo Bester's luck finally ran out. Acting on a tip-off, Tanzanian authorities stormed a luxurious villa in Arusha, a popular tourist hub nestled near the slopes of Mount Meru. Inside, they found Bester and Magudumana, their life of ill-gotten luxury, abruptly shattered. Also apprehended were several alleged accomplices, their faces a mix of shock and resignation as the reality of their capture sunk in. The news of Bester's arrest sent shockwaves through South Africa, a collective sigh of relief mixed with a thirst for answers. Images of his capture, his face plastered across newspapers and television screens, became a powerful symbol of justice prevailing, of a system, though flawed, ultimately refusing to be broken.
It was a bittersweet moment. Relief that he was finally back behind bars where he belonged, but also anger, knowing that he had been living a life of luxury while we were still picking up the pieces of our shattered lives.
Thabo Bester's story, a twisted saga of deceit, manipulation, and audacious crime, ends not with a bang, but with the quiet clang of a prison cell door closing shut. He is back where he began, his freedom, bought with lies and fueled by a corrupt system, extinguished. Yet the echoes of his crimes, the wounds he inflicted on individuals, on a nation's trust, continue to reverberate. His victims, forever bound by the trauma he inflicted, are left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. The families of those he harmed, forever haunted by the what-ifs and if-onlys, grapple with the agonizing knowledge that true justice remains elusive. Bester's case has shaken South Africa to its core, exposing the fragility of a justice system riddled with cracks, vulnerable to manipulation and exploitation. The ease with which he orchestrated his escape, the web of complicity that enabled his year-long charade, has eroded public trust in institutions meant to protect and serve. The capture and rearrest of Thabo Bester was a stark reminder of a system in desperate need of reform. The investigation revealed corruption, negligence, and a disregard for the rule of law. Prison officials stand accused of accepting bribes and aiding his escape. Institutions meant to safeguard society became complicit in his crimes. The government vows to hold those responsible accountable.
This isn't just about one man's escape, it's about systemic corruption.
As Thabo Bester begins his latest stint behind bars, questions linger. What will become of Dr. Nandifa Magudumana? Will the ongoing investigations lead to meaningful reform? The story of Thabo Bester is a stark reminder that justice is fragile.
We can't let the darkness of his crimes define us. We owe it to the victims to build a system that truly protects.
The road ahead will be long, but in the pursuit of justice lies hope for a brighter future.